First Assistant District Attorney Perry Duckles of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. My name is Chris Chichester. I live in Rochester, New York. I'm an innocent man. This document arrived in your office today for your boss, District Attorney Sandra Dorley. It says here on this date, February 16th, is when I wrote it, the cover letter. Todd Baxter, Sheriff, 130 South Plymouth Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14604. Sandra Dorley, District Attorney, 47 South Fifth Street, Rochester, 14604. Read the attached PDF, that is the Freedom of Information Law. Comply with the attached PDF, that is the Freedom of Information Law. Disclose the names of my prosecutors. Silence. Resign. Then there's a link here to this freak. Todd Baxter employees writing a warrant for my arrest for a park lot I've walked through 4,000 times. $83,000 Shannon Meyer, who was paid $67,000 Meyer. $1,000, pardon me. So there's the cover letter. This is in your office today. And it's another way it arrived in your office. Because this is a Gmail here where I copy myself from a Proton mail account I used. Chichester Christopher 111 at proton.me. It's a paid mail account for me. And you're on here, right here. pduckles at monroecounty.gov. So where it says here, February 16th, read the attached PDF. That is the Freedom of Information Law. It's attached in his Proton mail. Comply with the attached PDF. That is the Freedom of Information Law. Disclose the names of my prosecutors. Silence. Every prosecution in the District Attorney's Office is on there. And I'm going into detail about what's happened to me. And in this document, there are also 3 links. YouTube zealots about District Attorney Sandra Dorley, Sheriff Todd Baxter, Judge Alex Renzi. Your boss is a zealot, Perry Duckles, because I have been in jail 6 times. 6 times the prosecutor's not talked to court. And I've been demanding for 18 plus months that your boss, the District Attorney of Monroe County, disclose the names of my prosecutors. Silence. She's refusing. This is a reason why your boss is corrupt. That I cannot even find out the names of these disgusting, sick cretins that are prosecuting me in silence. So below this is misconduct on Chief of the Grand Jury Bureau, Michelle Crowley, who indicts me when I don't know the grand jury is convened, and Michelle Crowley doesn't call me as a witness to the grand jury, and that's corruption. And I have here how Todd Baxter's fleecing taxpayers by sending 2 of his employees that have paid more money to him to Saratoga, New York. This is $155,000 Corey Brown, $163,000 Michael Fowler. They're not just paid more than Todd Baxter by $5,000 or $10,000, because Todd Baxter paid $132,000. Corey Brown has paid $33,000 more, $23,000 more than Todd Baxter. And Michael Fowler's paid $33,000 more than Todd Baxter. That is a reason why Sheriff Todd Baxter is corrupt, Perry Duckles. If you were asked that question, is Sheriff Todd Baxter corrupt? Is your answer no, and that you believe that he's the sheriff of Monroe County and he leads his office with integrity and decency and honor because you live in a psychotic 1984 if you believe that Sheriff Todd Baxter comports himself with the highest standards of professionalism and honor? He is corrupt, Perry Duckles. So when you have defendants in court that are arrested by the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, you need to think to yourself that this is a Leviathan that does not have the intellectual capacity to make a determination for what's a crime and what's not a crime. On my 50th birthday, July 4, 2015, I have a speeding ticket in Albany, New York, a speeding ticket in Washington, D.C., and both were dismissed when I went to court. And what I now know, in these corrupt courts I've been in, before Paul C. Metzer and John P. Menzer Jr., Little Penfield Town Court, and Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court, it doesn't matter how you live your life. And I'm demanding of your corrupt boss, Sandra Dorley, who made the decision at your little shack at 47 South Fifth to force me into Alex Renzi. Because the prosecutor assigned to my case for Alex Renzi made that decision. And who is it, Perry Duckles? So, I'm using the Freedom of Information Law upon you relentlessly to demand you disclose these names to me. And your boss is refusing every time. I'm not just calling the district attorney's office, which I had done, and saying, what are the names of my prosecutors? I'm using the FOIL. You know Freedom of Information Law is FOIL. It's on January 18th. Now, I've written this for 18 months. This is a month ago. This is why your boss, Sandra Dooley, is corrupt. I can't even find out the names of my prosecutors of silence. Is this Julie Hahn's first one? It's 3 documents I've written over and over and over. FOIL, the documentation for the case for Christopher charges where John P. Lomenzo Jr. Penfield Town Court ordered his name and prosecutor Sandra Dooley. The reason why I asked if this is Julie Hahn, because there was a profile of her in a magazine, I think it's an online magazine called Rochester Online, where I read about her and her difficult and challenging upbringing. And it was difficult and challenging for me to keep it together when she was talking about what she had to go through in her life. But I don't know if this is her in Penfield Town Court or not. What I do know is Julie Hahn is on Monroe County Court and she didn't win. She didn't win anything. Julie Hahn's a loser and she's on that court. Is this Julie Hahn or is this not Julie Hahn? And you know. And you refuse to tell me who the female prosecutor is before John P. Lomenzo Jr. Freedom of Information, the documentation for the case for Christopher charges with policy measure in Penfield Town Court was in the prosecutor's Sandra Dooley. This is the 5'2" 3-piece suit boy that Regina Harper, the Monroe County public defender, said, quote, the prosecutor's not backing down. Rambo here is not backing down in total silence, Perry Duckles. And he's a coward. And what's his name? I'm demanding his name and the other names. Because the Attorney Grievance Committee is on East Avenue. We can begin a process to disbar an attorney. And I don't know if that can do it. But the Appellate Division of State Supreme Court can certainly disbar an attorney. And when I eventually acquire the names of my prosecutors' silence, I will seek to disbar each. I cannot do that and achieve that goal if you're refusing to disclose the names of prosecutors assigned to my court appearances that are public proceedings financed by the taxpayers of Monroe County. So what's his name? In my last appearance before Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court, he said to me I was finished and done, which is not true. Because since your district attorney's office is a collection of psychopaths, when you watch me, if you watch me, and I believe you do, and I don't know how many because I don't check the views, because I'm only talking to the United States Department of Justice. I only have an audience of one, that's Merrick Garland. Everybody else, I don't give a damn what anybody thinks. I don't care what he thinks. So, Perry Duckles, Alex Renzi says to me in New York State Supreme Court, there were 2 females behind me, and I believe that they were prosecutors, that they're not a court employees. I could be incorrect. What I'm not incorrect about is I have a prosecutor signed to my appearance for Alex Renzi. Who is it, Perry Duckles? Freedom of Information, a documentation for the case for Christopher charges in New York State Supreme Court for Alex Renzi. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Dooley? January 18th. This is attached to PDF because I'm only using a mail.com account that has limited recipients. You'll be able to see on this mail.com account that will have your name in this YouTube where this PDF document is attached. This is January 18th. A month ago, I demanded the names of my prosecutors' silence. You understand what I'm saying to you, Perry Duckles? This is a month ago. I'm going to write this again. You should receive this in the next 2 weeks, at least 3 more times, depending on the time that I have, because I'm moving from Rochester. I cannot live in this city and this county, Monroe County, that I've lived in for 10 years because the psychopaths at the district attorney's office just concoct the arrest warrant for me, a fiction, a lie. The arrest warrant will be out there, and then I will be followed and stalked by the Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees. They'll arrest me on the side of a road I'm walking on. They'll bring me to the corrupt judge, like Alex Renzi or Paul C. Metz. I'll be declared guilty, and I'll be languishing in jail again. And it won't be Monroe County Jail. It'll be Livingston County Jail. Because I'm told I can't be in Monroe County Jail because of what I did to the Sheriff's Office on YouTube. And what I did to the Sheriff's Office is read their salaries. They all know what I'm paid. And what Todd Baxter was refusing to disclose, just like Sandra Dooley. This is why your boss is corrupt. How are Sheriff's Office employees and District Attorney's Office employees paid beyond the 40th hour? You know the answer. Do you receive overtime, a time and a half, or however that's done, however it's calculated beyond the 40th hour? And you know the answer. Perry Duckles. So I'm demanding names of my prosecutors. I'm demanding how you calculate overtime for your employees. Here's the payroll for the District Attorney's Office. And you are the third name. So you were paid $144,721 in your career. Now I have your biography here, and I'm going to read it. This is a distinguished biography that you have. And I'm shocked that your distinguished biography, you fail to understand English language, Perry Duckles. I'll prove it again. What are the names of my prosecutors? It's that simple, and you refuse. You will not tell me. Now, Perry Duckles, where you can tell me the names of my prosecutors, right here. Christopher Chichester, that's me. 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, New York, 14607. That's a UPS box, because I don't want Psychopaths Incorporated showing up in my residence and screaming and yelling my name in my backyard, which would happen to me in Penfield, and I was on YouTube when they were doing that once. So here you are, Perry Duckles, for $144,721. Do you make overtime time and a half? The last payroll I acquired, Sandra Dorley, was at $203,000. And when I contact Thomas B. DiNapoli to demand an audit of your district attorney's office, how did Sandra Dorley go from $203,089, I think it was, these bizarre salaries that are not rounded off here? Like, for example, Alyssa Truelove, $107,517. How is that done? Is this some type of civil service pay scale? Because as I am a former employee for the majority leader and governor in Albany and Congressman Morris Smith, Senator Olympia Stone, Washington, D.C., every payroll was a coherent number. Every salary on the payroll was a coherent number. 50,000, 60,000, 65,000, 85,000. These are not coherent numbers. Elizabeth Buckley, 131,416. That's ridiculous. So you, Perry Duckles, at 144,721. Right above you on the payroll is Sandra Dorley, 210,900. Did Sandra Dorley give herself a raise? I know you refuse to answer. I don't know. Is there an automatic cost of living adjustment in the law in Monroe County, State of New York for Sandra Dorley? I don't know. You do. Tell me. And you will refuse. So I take out my iPhone and I take pictures of what I'm doing. This is the Freedom of Information Law. You refuse to comply with every single one of these district attorney's office. I think there are 1,000+ documents in here. The FOIL. This is why the district attorney's office is corrupt. This is why Sandra Dorley is corrupt. If you were asked, Perry Duckles, is this sexual harassment at the district attorney's office? What would your answer be? Because there's different ways to define sexual harassment. And one thing I have zero tolerance for is citizens who talk about sexual harassment and don't define it. I'm going to tell you what it is. It's almost always a male, but one thing I'm also now familiar with is that the examples of sexual harassment, it can be females doing this, but I'm just using male since it's more common. It's a male calling a female over and over and asking for a date to go out for a drink or go to a movie, and that female is under siege with no. That's sexual harassment. It's a male sending a female at work emails, and those emails have profane language in them, and oftentimes it's misogyny. That's sexual harassment. It's a man placing his hands on a woman at the office. She tells the man, keep your hands to yourself, don't touch me, keep your hands away from me. There are different degrees of sexual harassment in the office, and I have seen this in my places of employment. So, Perry Duckles, as you understand the term sexual harassment, you know I just gave you a few examples of what it is. It's just sexual harassment at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. And what's the answer, Perry Duckles? Because it's a simple answer. And you know how you can know that there's sexual harassment? If there's a settlement. If you've been sued by one of your former employees. So here is the Freedom of Information Law. Again, this is the same January 18th, a month ago. Quote, the cost of taxpayers of Monroe County District Attorney Sandra Dorley expended taxpayer dollars to settle employment-related discrimination lawsuits fair to comply with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act 1964. Now you, Perry, studied this law at State University at Buffalo School of Law. This is the most important consequential law of the 20th century. I'm confident you would agree with that. And it covers sexual harassment. Your boss for 18 months is just refusing to answer me when I demand if there's sexual harassment going on at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. So I don't have everyone's email. And another thing I'm surprised about, since I'm a bike rider, I ride my bike all over Rochester and frequently by the District Attorney's Office, Sheriff's Office, where there are times where I do get nauseous. And this is, I think there were 50 employees on here. It's page 2. District Attorney's Office payroll is another 50. You can see here. I think there are a total of 120 employees at the District Attorney's Office. Here's another 50 here. I think, no, there's more. So here It's about 150 employees. I'm just doing this from memory. But you can see these names, 3 pages here. Not everyone is at 47 South Fitzhugh. Am I correct or incorrect? I'm going to write this down to Sandra Dorley and ask her. And I'm going to tell Thomas B. DiNapoli, control of the state of New York, to answer. You have satellite offices, you have people who work from home. Based on my understanding of the structure of the district attorney's office, you can't get everybody in that building. So here, Robin Catalano. Have you, Robin Catalano, been sexually harassed at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office? Or do you know another female employee that's been sexually harassed? As you understand the term, I have your email, rcatalano at monroecounty.gov, and I copied you. And what's the answer? You're the most ridiculous cliche the district attorney's office there is. You're above the law because you don't think you have to answer any of these questions for me. And I'm going to read your minds because it's so obvious. When I'm on here, I'll never know who's watching me. But the employees of the district attorney's office, sheriff's office, I'm using language like I am now. You think he should be arrested, he should be in jail because you're psychopaths. So one of these freaks is doing this to me, Perry Duckles. When Regina Harper said to me the prosecutor's not backing down, this freak is on here. Who's the freak that's doing this to me? There are multiple freaks, but there's one in particular I'm interested in, and that's the prosecutor before Paul C. Metzler, because he's the one that sent me to Livingston County Jail in Geneseo. So here you are, Perry Duckles. This is January 20th. Came back to me. You know I'm demanding names of my prosecutors. Here's your name right here. I can't make out that signature. So on January 20th, the documentation I sent to the United States Attorney Trinity Ross also, and Sheriff Dodd Baxter from Penfield Court, Alex Renzi's right here. It's just usually 10 to 15 when these cards come back to me. You're on here on January 20th, and if you read it, you see the Freedom of Information Law. Well, I'm demanding names of my prosecutors. And here you are again on January 30th, where it just says Sharbrook here, where you have documentation from me that's from the United States Postal Service was brought to you, and I'll never know if you read it or not, but I'm in communication with you. Here's Michelle Crowley here. It says Shanigan here. Well, I'm demanding from Michelle Crowley the facts and circumstances of the grand jury indicts me when I don't know the grand jury's convened. 1, I don't know the grand jury's convened. 2, I don't know who the grand jury is. And 3, Michael Houlihan of the district attorney's office perjured himself to the grand jury. And I don't know if you can hear that on my laptop camera. That's a siren going by here. And there have been frequently times where I'm here and sirens are going by. This is why Rochester, New York is a city of freaks. It's like, here, there's sirens there. And it's something called AMR, which is a private ambulance service going through the city of Rochester 20, 30 times a day. And that's not happening in Albany, New York, where I lived for 5 years. And that's not happened in where I live in Washington, D.C. for 5 years. These sirens going through the city of Rochester are an absolute and total disgrace. So here's Lisa Gray, February 3rd. Well, I'm telling Lisa Gray, who have also been on YouTube, where I put her name on the YouTube link. Well, I'm telling Lisa Gray to counsel the district attorney to disclose the names of my prosecutors. Lisa Gray again gets this. Lisa Gray again gets this. And then Jansen McNair is the Office of Public Integrity, former employee of the Sheriff's Office, who's copying on this. I'm telling him I'm being violently attacked by sociopaths at the Sheriff's Office. I walked into the Penfield Public Library. I sat down. I was being stalked into the Penfield Public Library by Richard J. Siebman, Sheriff Todd Baxter, $75,000 criminal. I stand up at the computer. Siebman runs at me, extends his arm, slams me in the head with his arm. I fell backwards, and then my head hit the ceramic tile. Siebman picks me up with the other psychopath with him. I'm frog marched out of the library, down the hall, and there's $28,000 Paul C. Metzler waiting for me. You know who's not there that day, Perry Duckles? There's no one from the district attorney's office. 2 people decided I'm going to be in Livingston County Jail in Geneseo. Paul C. Metzler and Richard J. Siebman, who violently attacked me. What would you think if that happened to a friend or a family member, Perry Duckles, where your friend or family member was violently attacked in a public place, deposited in front of one corrupt judge, and the prosecutor didn't make an argument that defendant, that immediate defendant, in 10 minutes, a person goes from sitting in a library terminal to sitting in front of a corrupt judge, and there's his own prosecutor. Redirect defendants away from Penfield Town Court and Paul C. Metzler, James P. Maloney Jr. It's another reason why I'm on YouTube today. And you won't. You won't because you love that Star Chamber. You love the fact that it's so easy. It's so efficient. It's so dispensable to just send a defendant in there and have that defendant declared guilty. No one's acquitted in Penfield Town Court. You know why, Perry Duckles? Because it takes thought. and decency and intelligence to evaluate the facts and circumstances for an acquittal. And it also has to include the understanding that the Monroe County Sheriff Office employees are corrupt cops and psychopaths. Paul C. Metro doesn't have that ability, this 70-year-old widow. She's in there, and you should know this, Perry Douglas. I'll guess you've been in there. There's no table for a defense attorney. There's no table for a prosecutor. There's no table for a witness stand. And the most important fact about this nauseating star chamber, there's no jury box for a jury of 12. So Perry Duckles, assistant district attorney in the local courts. You've been in Penfield Court. You had to be. I would be shocked if you don't know what I'm talking about with this little room. Is Penfield Court a star chamber? Perry Duckles? If a prosecutor doesn't talk in court, Perry Duckles, and a defendant is delivered to jail, is that prosecutor guilty of unethical behavior? The answer is yes. And that's happened to me 6 times because a prosecutor has never talked in court for me as I've been in jail 6 times. So when I say that Sandra Dorley is corrupt, there has to be a reason why. And there are 100, 500 perhaps reasons why. And one of them is Conviction Integrity Unit. Your boss, Sandra Dorley, has to have a separate bureaucracy to police herself called the Conviction Integrity Unit. I'm demanding if this meets the Freedom of Information Law I just held up. I have been using the FOIL because there are public meetings laws in the state of New York. If you have a Conviction Integrity Unit that meets, it's subject to the public meetings laws. So does it meet, or is it just the ridiculous public relations for Sandra Dorley? So that's a reason why she's corrupt, that she has to have a Conviction Integrity Unit that I'm demanding to know if it meets. She's refusing. And Sheriff Todd Baxter is corrupt for 500 plus reasons. And a reason is, quote, I have a passion for jails. That's a story in the Democrat Chronicle, where this Benito Mussolini skinhead uses that sick language. That's because Todd Baxter, who doesn't know if he's Republican or Democrat, just like Sandra Dorley, loves human suffering. That's why Todd Baxter says, I have a passion for jails. Have you been in one political party your whole life, Perry Duckles? Or did you decide to switch parties? And the reason why that matters is in the United States of America of 2023, the parties are polar opposites. I have never seen a radical separation between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party in my long life like I do today. There's no reason really ever now to switch parties. And your boss, Sandra Dorley, switched parties because all she believes in is power. So, this on January 18th, I sent it to the District Attorney's Office, rejection, accountability. It says, comply with the attached PDF dated January 18th, that is 71 Freedom of Information Law documents. This includes identification on prosecutor's silence, mail the information I demand to the address on the FOIL. So, I'm going to send this to you via my mail.com account, which is going to be limited recipients, and then I hope to be back on here tonight, where I take this link, and I'm going to be on YouTube again, where I'm reading the Freedom of Information Law documents, where I'm again demanding disclosure of my names of prosecutors of silence. I've talked about this before. Monroe County Sheriff Office coming to my residence to demand my little guy. That's insane. Do you own a dog, Perry Duckles? Because if the cops showed up to your residence, demanded your dog, you would think the cops are insane. So over and over, I'm demanding the names of my prosecutors of silence. These are receipts that come back to me. Registered mail return receipt using UPS also. Every single time you've refused. So there are things I no longer have because my landlord, Giuseppe Spano, and Anthony Spano locked the doors and locked me out. I slept in Harrisville Park for 3 weeks. And everything I own is gone. And my ex-girlfriend, Laura Riley, took all my things to a storage locker. She refused to answer questions about what happened to me. They just locked the doors and locked me out when I was in Livingston County Jail in Geneseo. I was taken back to Monroe County Sheriff's Office where I out-processed. I ran down Penfield Road at midnight. I'm thinking I'm going to get my key, which is taped on the back porch. I'll open the door, go in there, and this nightmare will be over. Well, it's going to get even worse because the front door lock was changed. The sliding glass door that was broken was fixed, and the key that had a New York Mets logo was removed. I walked to the park and slept in the park for 3 weeks. Anthony Spano, Fairport, New York, did this to me. Even though my landlords were Giuseppe Spano, the son, who's now dead. So I don't have things. I had my original DD-214 from the United States Army. It's attached to PDF. You can look at it. I had to get a copy. This is the obliteration of my life when I do not have a document that was in my 1980 Mercury Capri on April 14th, 1988, when I drove from the 101st Airborne Division, Fort Campbell, Kentucky, back home to Long Island. This is the copy. I'll never have the original. This is why I despise and detest this Benito Mussolini skinhead Todd Baxter. I don't have my original because of him. And because of District Attorney Sandra Dorley, too. So, I've been demanding from Regina Harper and Mark Phillips of the Public Defender's Office. You can see their emails on here. They disclose the names of my prosecutors. It's an envelope addressed to Regina Harper twice. Regina, quote, the prosecutor's not backing down. In here, I'm demanding you tell me, via YouTube and documentation, the names of my prosecutors. How do you possibly send this back to me, Regina? I'm going to send this to you, to the public defender. I'm going to put this in a large envelope. And the reason why the envelope has to be large is because not only was I demanding from you, Regina, the names of my prosecutors, and sending you other information, I was from Mark Phillips, who also sent it back to me. What is wrong with you, Mark? How do you possibly make the decision to send this back to me? Why don't you open it and look at it? I should have never been in jail. I should have immediately been released. You know why? You make the argument that the prosecutor didn't talk to court, Mark and Regina. If a prosecutor doesn't talk to court, the prosecutor can make an argument the defendant committed a crime. And I've languished in jail 6 times without a prosecutor ever uttering one syllable. And as you should know by now, I've lost total and complete respect for you, Mark and Regina. And this was a slow process. But it's solidified when I received these envelopes back from you. The prosecutor's not backing down. Regina, I asked you directly to you. Well, who is it? You refused to tell me. Mark, what are the names of my prosecutors? Silence. Tell me the names, Mark. Those 4 envelopes I just sent you, I'm going to buy a large cardboard envelope. Go to either FedEx or UPS or USPS. I'm going to put it in and I'm going to send it to the public defender. I think the public defender is Julie Stianki. I do not know off the top of my head, and I could be incorrect. But I'm not going to send that to you because I know it'll come back to me. But I will send that to the public defender with perhaps 500 to 1,000 words. And I'll ask her, why are your employees sending this back to me? You have to decide, Mark Phillips and Regina Harper, if you're going to be independent at the public defender's office and recognize that the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Todd Baxter, and Monroe County District Attorney's Office of Sandra Dorley, a collection of fanatics and sociopaths, and you oppose them. Or if you're comfortable being de facto employees of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Todd Baxter, and the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, Sandra Dorley. I should have been released from jail on day 1. Prosecutor didn't talk in court, and I was saying this when I was in jail. Contact the public defender's office, prosecutor didn't talk in court, and release me. And it is really frightening how there is no way once you're in jail to communicate with the public defender's office. It's just a kiosk, and I never know if my messages would get there. Or I would go to the circular desk of Monroe County Jail and say, call the public defender's office, tell them I shouldn't be here, but the prosecutor didn't talk in court, and they were doing nothing. On purpose, they're putting screws to me. And I'll guess it's because they know I read their payroll. 2+ years ago, I read the payroll. I've read it repeatedly, including recently. So Jansen McNair, former employee of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Director of Public Integrity. And so Mark and Virginia have company. Director of Public Integrity is supposed to be independent. He's a former employee of the Sheriff's Office, be fired immediately. This is Jansen McNair also sending my mail back to me. Because I'll guess he sees me on YouTube. And then when he sees my name here, well, I'm telling Jansen McNair that I'm being violently attacked by Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees, that the prosecutor doesn't talk to court. So, yeah. I don't have. I locked out of my residence. As I lived in Albany, I would go to Cooperstown with friends. I had to buy a Brooklyn Dodgers hat because my mother and father from Albany. I'm not talking about some narcissists, but I want to talk about my hats. I had about 10, 15 Brooklyn Dodgers hats. They're all gone. And this is because of Todd Baxter, Sandra Dorley, and these courts that I've been in with Paul C. Metzer, John P. Metzer Jr., Alex Renzi. I bought this because I would think about my life. Even though I had 10, 15, I don't even know how many I had. They were in a box that I collected for over 30 years. This is the obliteration of my life, where I'm buying things that I bought 30 years ago to remind myself about the things I love. So, and what's also gone, as I'm a runner, I ran a 5K in Fairport, and that's me. At the brewing company, I would take my jerseys, I put them on a small chandelier in my living room. I had about 10 jerseys with numbers on. That's all gone. Those running shoes, I think I paid $100 for those running shoes. Those are gone. I own nothing. I have nothing. That's why I'm showing that. I own nothing. I have nothing because of Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Dorley, Paul C. Metro and John P. Lorenzo Jr. in Penfield Court, and Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court. I'll be arrested again, and I'll reject any type of defense from the public defender's office because what do I need you for? They'll eventually have to release me. So, Perry Duckles, I'm talking to you the whole time, even though I use different names. And Perry Duckles, what are the names of my prosecutors of silence? You know where to reach me, Perry Duckles. 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, New York 14604. How am I in jail, Perry Duckles, when a prosecutor doesn't talk court? How am I in jail 6 times a prosecutor doesn't talk court? The answer is that District Attorney Sandra Dorley is corrupt.